Hey guys, this is Mark, and in this video we're going to take a little informal quiz to see whether you have or may have alexithymia, also called emotions blindness. This is not a formal assessment, of course, but if you answer yes to approximately 50% of these questions, then it would definitely be worthy of maybe investigating to see if you technically have the disorder, if we want to call it that. It's more of a neuropsychological phenomenon that's characterized by significant challenges in recognizing, expressing, and describing your emotions. And it's associated with difficulties in attachment and interpersonal relations. And even though there's no scientific consensus on its classification as a personality trait or a medical symptom or mental disorder or whatever, it is still highly prevalent among individuals on the autism spectrum. I think the range is anywhere from 50% to 85% of people with ASD have alexithymia. And by the way, the term alexithymia literally means lacking words for feelings. Okay, so if you don't have a pencil or paper, then you may want to pause this video. So we're going to go ahead and do this now. There's going to be 40 questions, and you're either going to answer yes or no. Okay, here we go. Number 1. I tend to have a lack of fantasizing or a lack of imagination. Number 2, I tend to have a logical and rigid thinking style that does not account for emotions. Number 3, I've been accused of being rigid. Number 4, I tend to behave less altruistically than others, which simply means perhaps I'm not as quick to be kind and outgoing and giving as most other people are. Number 5, I have a blunted or limited personal experience of emotions. Number 6, I've had a brain injury at some point in the past. Number 7, I have problems regulating my emotions. Number 8, I have problems regulating my thoughts. In fact, sometimes I don't feel like the thinker in charge of my thoughts. I feel like the thoughts are in charge of the thinker. Number 9, I have difficulty identifying feelings. 10, I have difficulty recognizing and responding to the feelings of others, including tone of voice and facial expressions. Number 11, I have difficulty distinguishing between emotions. In other words, telling the difference between anxiety and anger. Number 12, I have difficulty identifying and describing emotions. Number 13, I have difficulty with introspection. In other words, peeling myself out of my skin and looking back at me as almost an objective third party so I can understand my thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. Number 14, I've often been accused of being distant. Number 15, I have problems controlling my anger, anxiety, depression, etc. Number 16, I tend to want to avoid feeling emotions. Number 17, when I feel a particular emotion that's uncomfortable, I tend to want to suppress it. Number 18, it's hard for me to identify the cause of personal feelings. Number 19, I tend to not have much of a sense of humor. Number 20, I don't like listening to how other people feel. Number 21, I don't like talking about my feelings. 22, I have experienced childhood trauma. Number 23, I tend to be impulsive. 24, I've been accused of a communication style that is characterized as being cold, flat, or lacking emotion. 25, I've been accused of having no empathy. 26, I have a limited ability to communicate my feelings to others in the heat of the moment. 27, it's hard for me to understand verbal and nonverbal emotional cues. Number 28, I tend to be a lonely person. 29, I tend to be very non-assertive, which is just another way of saying fairly passive. Number 30, I have some nonverbal communication deficits. In other words, I have a difficulty reading body language and tone of voice. And 31, I have a close family member who I believe was alexithymic. Number 32, I have a perspective-taking deficit. In other words, it's hard for me to understand other people's opinions and ideas. Number 33, I have poor coping skills when it comes to dealing with stress. Number 34, I would say that overall my sense of satisfaction in life is rather poor. 35, I have problems distinguishing between emotions and the bodily sensations that relate to those emotions. Number 36, I'm very reliant on concrete thinking almost to the exclusion of symbolic thinking. Number 37, I have a tendency to mistake emotional responses as physiological experiences. 38, I tend to lack insight. 39, I would say I have weak social attachments. And number 40, when others are crying, it raises my anxiety. So that is just a very informal little quiz to see if you're in the ballpark with having this emotions blindness. So if you answered yes to approximately 20 of those 40, then maybe consider going and getting an assessment. If you have ASD level 1, then know that alexithymia, up to 80% of the time, comes with that package.